What is the best scene that you can imagine to shift into the wish fulfilled state? I get this question very, very often. Like, what scene should I imagine? Is there a best scene? What's the best scene for my desire? So by the end of this video, I want to give you a handful of scene examples that I use personally to manifest my desires, that a lot of my clients in my program used to manifest their desires. And we're going over them. I'm going to tell you again exactly how to imagine them the best way and what scenes to imagine for some desires. But please be aware, these are examples. What you should know is that there are infinite scenes. There are infinite things that you can imagine to dive into the wish fulfilled state. And with this video, I want to help you how to imagine the right way, give you scene examples, and tell you why it is important to not imagine the desire itself, but to imagine something that implies your desire is already done. And that is what Neville said, right? Construct an event which you believe you would encounter following the fulfillment of your desire. He did not say construct an event of the fulfillment of your desire, like the moment it happens, the moment you get the car, the moment the partner is right now in front of you. No, he said basically to imagine out of your life where the wish fulfilled is already naturally in your life, because that makes a huge difference. And I want to tell you right now what that difference is, so you really understand the importance of not imagining the desire itself and seeing that in your mind's eye, or hearing that, or touching that, or whatever sense you use in your imagination. No, but imagining something that implies you already achieved it. There's a big difference in that. So option one is, again, you imagine the desire itself, and what that does, it feels very euphoric, right? It feels very emotional, and a lot of emotions come up that we didn't usually lose ourselves in, and we see that car and we'll be like, yes. But still, what that does and what that can do in many cases is it leads to the very subtle feeling of, oh, yeah, like that would be nice. Like you see that car, you start to visualize it, you start to imagine it. It can be the apartment, the partner, the more money, the better body, whatever it is. And you start to say, oh, that would be so nice. Yeah, I wish I would have this. And what it does, right, it does not identify with the desired state. It keeps it seemingly at a distance, because you're still like in this hoping and it would be nice mood where you're here, your desire is here, and you're like, oh, yeah, it would be so nice I could have this. You see it already, you know it's there, but it still does not create the naturalness that we're after. Not this, the knowingness that it's normal for you. Because everything that you have right now in your life, that's right now what's normal for you. You don't have to picture that or imagine that, and it would feel boring because it's already normal for you. And that's because you made it normal at some point, and now it's there in your life. So the same we want to do with the desire, but that's not easy if we picture the desire itself. What we want to do instead is we want to imagine something that implies the fulfillment, to identify with the wish fulfilled state, right? Identifying with the life of the version of you that lives in the wish fulfilled. So instead of imagining a stack of money, I ask myself, okay, who would I be? What would people say to me? What would I do in my life? How would my lifestyle look like? What would imply to me that I'm already a financially abundant person that has always more than enough assets, resources, investments, and all of that? Instead of seeing the partner, I ask myself, what would imply to me that this partner is already in my life? And I will give you scenes on that later, specific, general, for other desires that people, like members of my program, have also used. That's the big difference. And you can come up with such a scene, because sometimes I hear people that say, oh, but I don't know where to even start when imagining. I don't know what a good scene would be. Well, ask yourself this. If today your goal would have been manifested, right? You play the supposing game. This is so powerful. This is something that Neville also gave to his, attendees of his lectures. He basically said, okay, your rational mind can't understand how it can be right now, but in your imagination, you can feel into it. So play the supposing game. Suppose you already have the goal. Suppose it happened yesterday or 2 weeks ago, just to ease the mind more, right? You don't have to fully believe it right now. It's more so to allow yourself that possibility, to allow yourself to actually dive in the wish fulfilled, right? Suppose you would have achieved the goal. What would be different tomorrow in your life? Suppose now the desire is present in your life. You have the relationship, you have the partner, you have the money, you have the business success, you have the new health circumstance present in your life. Just suppose, even if it's not believable right now, but suppose it's there, what would be different tomorrow? Really play it. You have to give yourself some, because some people are so conditioned, they don't even allow themselves to play it because they're like, oh no, that can't be, that can't happen, that's not possible. Because they're so identified with their current state. Suppose. right? Ease your way into that. Suppose you could have it. What would change tomorrow? Or next week when you meet your best friend? What would he say to you? What would be different? What would you encounter in your life? What would your parents, someone that's close to you, your partner, your kids, what would you do differently, right? What would imply to you that now it is already there in your life? And when you play the supposing game, you see that images come up. You see that images of already existing realities will come into your view, will come into your awareness, and you will get some ideas of what you can imagine. Again, to conclude this video, I will show you scene examples, so just stay with me, but I want you to get this. First of all, to really clear this out, there is no the best scene, right? There is no this one scene that we will all use to manifest our desires. That does not exist, so get this out of your system. But you can find for yourself a very good scene that is like natural to imagine, that you enjoy to imagine, and that implies the wish fulfilled for you. And you can come up with such a scene if you ask yourself, let's just say my goal would have manifested, what would I do differently? What would be differently? What would imply it? Who would congratulate me? What would I say to someone? What would change in my life to imply that now I already have it? Boom, you let your imagination wander and you start to see, okay, what is the most natural scene? And then you pick that scene. And then you have a scene that is subjective to you and that implies the end is already achieved for you. And here in this illustration, you again see the difference between imagining the desire itself and going beyond that and imagining something that implies you already have the desire. It already happened a while ago. It's already in your life. So if you focus from your current state to the desired state and you picture the desired object, the desired version of you itself, again, it can create still this sense of, but I'm still here. This is still over there. And these questions come up. How can I achieve it? When will it happen? How will it happen? I still see no indications that I'm on the right track. And it creates a seemingly distance, and this it would be so nice, and it can get you into this hope perspective. You still hope for it. If you go one step further and you suppose I'm here right now. No longer here, suppose I'm here right now. Well, what would imply that this is kind of like already naturally present in my life? Like I explained to you previously, you go after the wish has already been fulfilled in your life, okay? Let's talk about scene example to really make this practical, because this is a lot of theory, a lot of concepts. How can you practically adopt that, right? And you have to be aware that during Neville's 10 books, during Neville's lectures, in those teachings, he very often brought up this approach. And also I think he did so because imagining a scene, everyone can do it. No one can tell me that you can't imagine. If you don't resonate at all with imagining a scene, if that's hearing something, if that's touching something, if that's seeing something, that's still no problem, because there are dozens of other techniques that are supposed to do the same thing and also get you in the knowingness that it is done. So you don't need to rely on that. But I'm speaking to the ones right now that started to imagine, and you want to have a scene, you want to start to imagine that scene that implies the end for you, which is a very powerful approach still, because then through your imagination, you actually experience that wish fulfilled. Your imagination allows you to have experiences outside of your senses, and you can make something natural, although it is unseen yet. That is why I still think it's very important and powerful to even practice it or try it at least, right? So one of those scenes, right, that Neville also very often brought up is, of course, a congratulation, right? Because a congratulation, the good thing with a congratulation is it always implies success. Someone would only congratulate you when you have achieved something. So you could ask yourself, okay, if your desire is now present in your life, you suppose it is there. Maybe it is not there yet, it's okay. But suppose you have it right now. You kind of give yourself the allowance to feel that. What would your best friend say to you when you tell him about that this is now in your life, that you've accomplished that this is now there? What would his reaction be when he sees you with the desire, when he notices that now you are this, this, and that, now you have this, this, and that? And this does not need to be a long scene where your friend says to you, oh, hey, Nicholas, it's so nice that you have this, that you're this, that you've accomplished this. No, forget that. Your friend would just say, dude, what the hell? Like, that's amazing. How does your best friend speak to you? Don't copy my scenes. Don't copy anyone else's scenes. That's why I said make it individual. Find the best scene for you that implies your wish is fulfilled, right? And maybe, your best friend would just shake his head and be like, no, I don't believe you. Or anything else. Or your parents would say, wow, I'm really proud of you. That's, for example, a scene that I used to manifest back then the first stage of my business success, or I simply heard my parents in my imagination tell me, wow, like, we're actually really proud of you. That's amazing. And I felt their conviction. I saw their happiness in their eyes reflected back to me, and that implied that my wish is already fulfilled. I shifted into that state. What are some scene examples? Let's make it practical. So I came up with 5 things for a car, relationship, money, health, apartment. Again, for business, I also have a lot of scenes. And should you be a business owner and you want to utilize those teachings for business success, you can also check out my mastermind. It's upgradeToLife.com/mastermind. Or you just go to upgradeToLife.com and then you see my mastermind for business owners, because I really utilize those principles specifically for business success. And I found that it works quite well. It works really good. So of course you can utilize it too, and I can support you on that. But let's just say your desire is a car, relationship, money, health, an apartment, or anything else. For a car, what you can use is you could imagine how you put your new car keys, sorry, not cat keys, your car keys on your table, right? Let's just say you have an old car. What do you do still? Right, with your old car, you come in, and when you come in from home, from work, from visiting a friend, you come in and you put your keys on the shelf. How would you put your keys on the shelf on the table with your new car? Right, it would feel like it's a different feeling, because now there's a new car standing in front of your house. So now you come in, not just like, okay, now you can be like, like with this feeling of I can't wait to hop again into my new car because I'm so like excited about it, right? That could be a scene, how you put your car keys on the table. Or again, how one of your friends asks you like, wow, like how much horsepower does this have? That's an great scene that I also imagined, right? Something that implies you already have the car, not the car itself. It can be even that you feel the steering wheel of it, but that still is, you have to see for yourself if that still isn't too euphoric and too, oh my God, yeah, like that feels too unnatural. Take it one step further. Relationship, right? You don't have to see the partner itself, the partner that you want, the relationship that you want before your mind's eye. What would imply that you are already in that relationship? Maybe your best friend, maybe your parents, maybe someone you know would say, wow, like you guys are a perfect match. I love to see you guys. Or someone of my program who manifested a relationship, he simply imagined ordering 2 Starbucks coffees, right? And that like implied to him that he's also ordering one for his girlfriend. So again, there are many scenes. You need to ask yourself, what would you do? What would imply for you that you now have X, Y, and Z in your life? Or money, right? It's not that you need to visualize your bank account. Yes, that works, but still for some people that's like, oh yeah, the bank account would be nice, but they still lose completely the connection with who they are as a financially abundant person. They imagine that the money itself, but not feeling themselves actually in a financially abundant and wealthy state. So you can imagine a scene where you buy something without caring about the price. You're just handing the credit card to just be like, yeah, whatever, here you have some very big tip, because I don't care. Like I can just buy that. That could be a scene to imply that you have a lot of money. Health, right? Maybe right now you're tied to the bed. Maybe right now you can't run, you can't do an activity because of a certain health symptom. What would you do? What would imply that you can now do this? Maybe you can imagine how you run again in the park. Maybe you imagine that you do an activity that right now you can't do to imply that now this health situation is solved. Apartment, right? You and your friends celebrating in it. You don't have to see the apartment in your mind's eye. You can just imagine something. If that apartment already is in your life, what would you do, right? Whom would you celebrate with? How would you like open a door to that apartment because you're just entering it in your everyday life? All right. So to sum it all up, there is no one best scene that's out there, right? There are infinite scenes that you could imagine. There are infinite scenes that are implied that we fulfill. The goal is that when you go for this approach with imagining a scene, by seeing something, hearing something, touching something, smelling something, tasting something in your imagination, it doesn't matter. You experience something within that implies you have achieved the goal. First is, this is subjective and individual. There is no one scene for all of us. Find your scene by asking yourself, okay, suppose I have the desire, what would imply that to me? So I have scenes where I just see myself smiling in front of a mirror, and that implies to me that is accomplished, or that is accomplished. For someone else, it would be like, hey, you're just smiling and looking yourself in the mirror, but I know what that smile in that moment implies to me. And so I dive into it, experienced that scene, and I know exactly what this one smile of my face, what this smile of my friend's face, what this, hey dude, how have you done that, what this implies to me in that moment. And so I have my scene. And then you imagine that. You imagine that, and then you continue with your life. And then maybe something triggers you, the desire comes up. All right. In a very gentle way, we imagine it again to dive again into the wish fulfilled. And that's how you can find scenes. That's it for this video. If you have any questions, definitely leave it in the comments down below. If you want to find more information, if you want to find my best resource on how to shift into the new version of yourself that already has manifested the goals, this new version of you that has complete faith, that knows how to manifest, that has their desires present, then definitely check out the free masterclass, which is a no hype, no fluff explanation on how to manifest and live self-empowered and apply the law of assumption in your life. And if at some point you say you want my accountability, you want my coaching, you want my help, you want to be in closer contact with me and more than 200 like-minded people in the private community, you want a structured system, you want like coaching and all of that, then you can of course also apply for my program. That's the second link in the video description, pinned comments, so that we can find out if we are a good fit to work together. That's it. Speak to you in the next one. Bye guys.